Hello, everyone. I'm Megan Beecham. I'm the managing editor at Create and Cultivate, and I'm so excited to be chatting about money and tax management tips today with our incredible panel. It's safe to say that solopreneurship has exploded in recent years, and it doesn't show any signs of slowing down soon. Today, nearly 40% of the workforce is made up of freelancers, temps, independent contractors, and solopreneurs, and a growing number of millennials and Gen Zers are becoming solopreneurs. In fact, 61% of millennials who are working as solopreneurs while quote unquote between jobs plan to stay independent solopreneurs. So now, while being a solopreneur is exciting, after all, you are your own boss, tax time can be a little bit stressful. So in anticipation of tax day, we have Lisa Green-Lewis, a CPA and tax expert at TurboTax, here with us today to answer some of our most pressing tax questions, help us build confidence in our tax prep journey, and even help us save a little bit of money along the way. So welcome, Lisa.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Now, I'd love for you to share a little bit about yourself and your role at TurboTax.
Okay, so I'm a CPA and I'm a tax expert for TurboTax, and I've been doing taxes for almost 30 years now. And then one thing to note, I've also been self-employed in a couple of businesses before.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Lisa. We're so excited to have you here with us today. And because effective money management is a year-round practice, not just an afterthought outside of tax season, we're also joined by Brittany Castro, who is a certified financial planner for Mint and the CEO and founder of Financially Wise. Welcome, Brittany.
Thanks, Megan.
So our audience can get to know you a little bit better. Can you give us your quick intro and just a little bit about you and your business?
Yep. So I'm a certified financial planner. I've been doing that for 15 years. And now I spend a lot of my time focusing on content creation with Mint and my brand as well to just educate people around good financial literacy and management principles and investing wisely. And we have a lot of fun, and Mint is like such a great app to, budget your money, review your cash flow. And I always enjoy talking to people about just simple and fun ways to be involved with your money and grow your wealth.
I love it. That is certainly something that we can all get behind at Create and Cultivate. Love everything that you do. And lastly, joining our tax and finance talk are two inspiring and entrepreneurial women who have found professional success outside of the traditional 9 to 5. Thank you, Grace Atwood and Katie Sands, for joining us today to talk about some of the financial challenges that face content creators, freelancers, and solopreneurs. And I'd love for each of you to give us your 30-second pitch, show your name, your title, and what you do. Let's start with you, Grace.
Hi, I'm Grace Atwood, and I have had a blog for the past 11 years. It's called thestripe.com. And then for about 3 years, I've also had a podcast, which I co-host with my dear friend, Becca Freeman, called Bad on Paper.
Amazing. Thanks, Grace. And Katie.
Hi guys, I'm Katie Sands. I'm the founder of lifestyle blog Honestly Kate. I started the blog in 2017, and now I am currently also a lifestyle host on Amazon Live.
Awesome. Now, there's so much I want to talk about, so let's get straight into it. Katie, as you just mentioned, in addition to your lifestyle blog, Honestly Kate, you're also a style host for Amazon Live. When did you first become a solopreneur, and what led you to take that first step in establishing your brand and your business as a solopreneur?
So I kind of became a solopreneur as a happy accident. I was in a grad program for theater production. I always wanted to go into the production side of Broadway. That was always my dream. And I was in this 2-year program, and I started an account on Instagram. At first, it was called The Sands of Time. And I thought that you could deactivate Instagram the way that you could deactivate a Facebook page, because I was really busy with schoolwork and I needed to just put it aside for a second. And when I realized that wasn't the case, that the account was now deleted, I made another account titled Honestly Kate, not Katie. So that when, like I said to you guys earlier before this, so I didn't want anyone to find my account. It was really just for my friends, my family, to follow different contemporary outfits I was putting together, because at the time I loved how different costume designers in the field were styling their clients, styling their actors in contemporary clothes so that you could actually shop the look on TV or in movies. And it was different than how other costume designers in the past were styling them in bespoke clothing. So that was kind of the impetus and the start for Honestly Kate. And it was about, I think, 6 months to 8 months later where I decided to make it an S corporation and realize that I can monetize from the digital platform.
Oh, amazing. Sands of Time is so clever too. I love that
was
name.
a good one.
That was so good. Yes, I love that. And Grace, like Katie, you also run your own blog, The Stripe, and you host a podcast, Bad on Paper. Take us back to the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey. Have you always been entrepreneurial? And what inspired you to start your podcast?
I'd say yes and no. Like growing up, my best friend and I were like always trying to find ways to extort my sister's allowance money from them and just like forming all of these like very childlike businesses. But then when I graduated college, so my parents owned a restaurant growing up and worked together. They were very entrepreneurial, but I also saw some of the harder parts of it. So after college, I was like, no, I'm going to work in the corporate world. And I held, very corporate positions for, I'd say 12 years, I want to say. So, I kind of fought it. And then I got to a point with my own business and my day job where it was like, well, you have to pick one because it's just getting to be too much. And I took a bet on myself 6 years ago and I never looked back. I really enjoy working for myself and running my own business.
Amazing. Well, yes, congratulations. That's so wonderful. And Brittany, as you mentioned in your intro, you've made it your mission to help women have a healthy relationship with money. Not only do you own your own financial planning firm, Financially Wise, but you're also a certified financial planner for Mint. When did you first become interested in finance?
Well, I mean, looking back, I don't remember exactly if I was ever really interested, but I did graduate with a degree in business economics, and math was always relatively easy for me. And my family will always like tell funny stories about like when I was a kid and my mom would go to the grocery store, I'd love to like pay and write the checks because at that time you paid with checks. So I did always have this fascination with like organization and money. But I think it was more serendipitous. I just got a job offer out of college to be a financial advisor. I had no idea what that was, but I did know when I was growing up, I wanted to be a business owner. And I was told that if you're a financial advisor, you can kind of run your own business, like your practice, you can make a lot of money, which I wanted, and then you could have freedom to run your own schedule. So all three of those things, I was like, okay, I'll try and see if I like it. And that's what I did. And 15 years later, here I am, and it's been a fun ride.
Amazing. Yeah, it sounds like it ticked all the boxes for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Katie, so I'd love to know who helped you with setting up your business and making some of those key financial decisions. Who did you turn to for financial advice, or where did you turn when you were just starting out?
So to be completely honest, I had no idea what I was doing, especially when I was starting an S Corp and when I was like turning the name Honestly Kate. First I patented it, then I went to a lawyer for that, a friend of a friend who put me in touch with a lawyer, and then I went and found a business manager to help me out and kind of give me advice. But I was like, oh shoot, I also have to pay for the business manager. How am I going to do that? And I feel like there were so many layers to it that I just didn't know you had to spend your own money on. So the first check I received, I think it was from the brand Shop Up, paid me to do their campaign for like 6 spring looks. And I used that money to pay for the business advisor, pay for the lawyer to patent the name. And I really just started from there. But I think that I feel like as a creative, and I'm sure Grace, maybe you can relate to this in a lot of ways. I didn't really know how to run a business from the beginning when I had all these creative juices flowing, because I felt like I'm a creative. That's what I went to school for. That's what I'm now in grad school for. Why do I have to run the business side as well? But becoming a solopreneur, you're doing it by yourself, you're solo, and it's kind of good, I feel like, to start out alone and do it on your own and kind of have to look things up and Google what to do and where to start and how to save your money. And that really helps me. Now I have a full-time team that helps run my account and helps run the brand. But I couldn't have gotten where I was or even knew to work with a team or hire a team if I wasn't doing it on my own at first.
Yeah. And when you do it on your own at first, it's so empowering too, right? To like, take ownership over your finances and dig into it, and using tools that help you, along the way, but, learning that knowledge for yourself as well, even if you are using some tools to help you out.
Exactly, because I do find that no matter what business you're in, whether it's furniture, whether it's fine art, whether, you know what I mean, whether it's the TV entertainment industry, it's all business. It's 99% business. And so if you don't have a business background, I didn't, you're going to have to teach yourself. So I always feel, and I always recommend any creative person in the field that knows they want to go into something in the digital space, I'm like, guys, whatever you do, I highly recommend you take a business class, because that's something that I wish was required of me in undergrad. Because it wasn't. It was required to take a math class and a science class, but I didn't know the first 10 steps of starting my own business.
Totally. And Brittany, so as you know, the early stages are crucial for any small business. What's a common financial pitfall that you see female entrepreneurs frequently falling into, and how can others avoid those mistakes?
Yeah, I would say the common one, a little bit around what you're talking about, Katie, is like a lot of female entrepreneurs will say, I'm creative, I don't know money, I don't know how to manage the money. And I think that is a pitfall because, like you're saying, Katie, like at some point you have to like dive in and learn it and teach yourself. And that's actually, I find the more creative you are, like the better you can be with money, because money is such an art. And although there is the science of budgeting and saving and investing and getting all the tax strategies, et cetera, there is the art of just how do you make money? How do you manage it for your business, for your lifestyle? What is it that you want to use your money for? So it's actually just like more of the mindset of I'm creative, I don't know how, or I'm too busy because I'm doing all these other things. But as we all know, the whole point of having a business is to make money, make a profit. And if we're not paying ourselves the salary we want or making the money we want for the business, it's not going to serve anyone long term. You're not going to be able to sustain it. You're just going to be really exhausted all the time. So I think it's just like simple mind shifts in the beginning, just to say, yeah, maybe I don't know it yet, but dive in and teach yourself. And the reality is no one really knows money until you start to learn money, and then it never ends, right? Like even me, I'm like in the money all day with my work, and there's still tons of things I have to learn and relearn constantly. So it's an ongoing lifetime commitment.
That is so reassuring. And thank you for sharing that, because I completely agree with you. Like so many things in life, it's just a continual education. And it's reassuring to hear that even a amazing expert like yourself continues to learn daily about all of these things. Speaking of learning, Grace, I'd love to know, can you share one thing that you didn't do in the setup stages of your business that ended up being crucial to your finances and would advise others to take care of ASAP?
Yeah, because I had a day job, I didn't really see it even though it was making money, I didn't really see it as its own business. So I didn't separate any of my expenses and all of that. I didn't have just something. The most simple thing I did was getting a credit card for all my business expenses. It, made such a huge difference, but I didn't do that for the first couple of years. I just had like this weird Excel sheet that I put all of the expenses in and saved all my receipts. And like, it was fine, but I would have saved myself so much of a headache just doing that one simple thing.
Completely. I think that many people listening to this right now can probably relate to the messy Excel spreadsheet mindset. I know that I certainly can myself with managing my own personal finances. And now I want to move on to talking about taxes specifically. Lisa, many people tuning in today are multi-hyphenates, meaning that their income comes from many different sources, not just one. What advice do you have for startups and entrepreneurs, or really anybody who doesn't fit into that traditional 9-to-5 mold when it comes to filing taxes? Like, how do you choose how you should classify yourself if you're self-employed? Like, especially for those who might be completely new to this process, can you walk us through some of the basics?
Yeah. So first, if you are in the business to make money, and whether you're driving for Uber or Lyft and the gig economy, or freelancing and doing your whatever you love, but you're in it to make money, then you are considered self-employed. That's the first thing to know. And I know Grace touched on it a little bit, just how she went a couple of years without, separating or having a separate bank account. That is one of the number one things I suggest for someone starting a business. You want to have a separate bank account from your personal so that you could keep track of your business income and your business expenses. You also, number one thing, whether it's monthly, quarterly, you want to track your income and expenses so that you know where you stand. When you're self-employed, if you plan to owe $1,000 or more, you're going to have to pay estimated taxes. So you want to keep track of that. You want to track your expenses so that you can maximize your deductions so that you lower your taxable income, as well as your self-employment taxes and your estimated taxes. So there's so many apps out there that you can use to track. And I know Intuit, we have QuickBooks Self-Employed that can help you easily track your round. And then that information can go into your TurboTax self-employed tax return.
Amazing. Great. And so now, since we have Lisa with us, I'm going to go around and ask everyone to share what type of business entity you own so that our audience can relate and so that we can further dig in and talk about particular situations and how they affect your taxes. So Katie, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. But also, Lisa, I thought it was really interesting. Both you and Grace said that it's so important to separate in the beginning. So I kind of had the opposite effect, and I was separating too much, where I wasn't even realizing what I was separating, where I was only putting in my business account photography, glam, clothing, beauty. And then my accountant said to me, Katie, why are you not putting Uber in there? Why are you not putting food in there that you're using to feed the photographer, feed your interns? And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how much my business actually encapsulate. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I was separating it too much, where I was only putting the things that I personally thought were business, where I didn't realize that most of my lifestyle, 80% of my personal lifestyle, was my business. So
right, that's a really good point. Anything directly to your business, you should absolutely write it off as an expense.
I had no idea. I was like, oh wait, I can put part of my Subway card on there because I'm using it to get to different shoots. Like I had no idea. So it was really, it kind of had the opposite effect, but it was just like such a great learning experience. But also, I'll tell you, I'm honestly, Kate is an LLC, an S corporation.
Okay.
Awesome. And Grace, how about you?
I'm still set up as a sole proprietorship.
Got it. Great. And Brittany, do you want to share with your background with Financially Wise?
Yeah, absolutely. So mine is an S corp.
Amazing. Great. Thank you so much. And Katie, thank you for opening up too about some of the things that you've learned along the way. I think that, of course, one of the ways to get better about understanding money is hearing the lessons that other people have learned too. So really appreciate you sharing that information with us and opening up and being honest about the things that you've learned along the way. Now, Lisa, can you walk us through the process from pre-tax prep to filing for the tax situations that these ladies just laid out for us? Like, what paperwork do they need? How will each of their particular situations affect how they file their taxes? Like, what about these quarterly payments that you kind of mentioned a little bit earlier?
Yeah, so we'll start with Grace because she's self-employed, and there's nothing wrong with being self-employed. That's one of the first things I tell people when they jump into a business. A lot of people jump into a business and they think, oh, I own a business, I need to change my entity to a corporation, not knowing that there may be additional costs with that when they're not even making money yet. Not saying that Grace isn't making money. Self-employed, they can get almost the amount of deductions that corporations can get. You're able to deduct your expenses directly related to your business. There's the new 20% qualified business income deduction for self-employed. So there's almost the same deductions for self-employed as a corporation. The only difference, like an S corp and an LLC, there are some tax differences, and also the limited liability of an LLC. If you were sued, they wouldn't come after your personal assets. They would come after the corporation. So that's one difference. I see people that do advising, so they go into an LLC because of the limited liability. And same with the S corp. And then as far as taxes, so for self-employed, you're going to receive 1099s of various types. One thing to note this year, self-employment income used to be reported on a 1099 NIS. It's now reported on a new form, 1099 NEC. So self-employed need to know that they need to look out for that new form. And then also a 1099K. That's a form that came up a couple years ago, and that's if you get paid through third-party providers. And if you have 200 transactions and make 20,000 or more, you will receive that form. So those are some forms to look out for. And then if you are self-employed, sole proprietor, you will have Form Schedule C that will be filed along with your Form 1040, your personal tax return. And then if you make 400 or more, you will also have Schedule SE, and that's to report your self-employment taxes as well. So that's for that. And then LLC sole proprietors will also be able to file a Schedule C as self-employed, because their income from the LLC flows through to their personal tax return. And then an S corp, they are paid through the S corp. So they will have a W-2 from the S corp because they're receiving a salary from the S corp, and then they're also taxed on dividends on their personal return if they receive any dividends from the S corp. So those are the differences.
Amazing. Thank you so much. That's so informative and so helpful. And so I know Katie brought up deductions a little bit earlier. So Lisa, I'd love to ask you, and I'm sure many people listening are wondering, how to get the biggest deduction that they can. And so some of the questions that people may be asking themselves if they're self-employed or entrepreneurs might be like, how do I know which self-employment expenses I can deduct? Can I deduct my home office? What about my mileage? Or as Katie was saying, even her subway card. What are some of these like top tax deductions for self-employed individuals that people should be mindful of?
Yeah, so the first thing to be mindful of, any expense that's reasonable and directly related to your business, you can deduct it. And so for startups, people new to business, keep in mind like your advertising, your startup costs, your marketing, web design, any of those type of expenses are deductible. And then the use of your car or transportation, however you're getting somewhere to see a client or anything related to your business, that's deductible. And you can deduct either your mileage or your actual expenses for your car, either one. One great thing, TurboTax Self-Employed, we search for deductions that are industry specific. And we will uncover those industry specific deductions some people may not even realize that are possible.
Amazing. That's so helpful, and really makes it so easy.
If you have questions, we have our TurboTax Live self-employed tax experts. They can guide you along the way and answer your questions. They can review your return, or new this year, we have our TurboTax Live self-employed full service where you can fully hand over your taxes to them. And with TurboTax Self-Employed Live, you're matched with a tax expert that has experience in self-employment taxes. And then in addition to that, you can connect with them year-round and ask them questions. They're available for you year-round once you use TurboTax Live Self-Employed. So self-employed come up with questions all the time, how do I figure out my estimated taxes? So you'll be able to talk to them year round and get that guidance.
And Grace and Katie, since we have a tax expert in the room, I'd love to know, do you have any tax questions that you'd like to ask Lisa respective to your business or your filing status?
I would just love any tips you have for apps or tricks to just stay a little bit more organized. I'm getting there, and like it's been a very slow journey for me, but I don't know, like organizational tips I think would be really helpful, I think for both us and the audience.
Yeah, I would say QuickBooks Self-Employed would be great for you because you can track your income and then your business expenses, and it even tracks mileage. So, and then it can also separate your personal and business expenses. If you already have your account separate, but if someone doesn't have their account separated, it helps you do that with the app. Like you can swipe and it'll move your personal expenses to one side and then swipe one way, and it moves your business expenses another way. And then at tax time, all of that information is able to import into your TurboTax Self-Employed return, so you don't have to re-enter. So it really helps with accuracy and your time as well.
Yeah. Okay.
And it will help you figure out your estimated taxes.
I think also another common misconception that I know a lot of friends and family around me will always say to me, well, Katie, you can buy a new camera or you can buy a new computer for yourself because it's a tax write-off. And for me, I'm like, guys, that doesn't mean I don't have to pay for it. I still am paying for the item. And I feel like I wish, or maybe there is, and you can tell me more about it. I wish there was kind of like a finance page for the digital platform that I can like send to my family and friends so that they better understand the business side of my brand and what I'm doing. Cause I find that is the hardest thing for me to explain to my circle around me.
Yeah, well, on the tax side, our TurboTax blog, and then also we have information on our Self-Employed Coronavirus Relief Center as well, related to events that happened last year, but also the blog, we keep it updated with information, and we have articles specific to like different industries as well and what's deductible. So
Awesome.
that may help them understand. But I mean, if you're spending money on, things for your business, I know you're spending the money, but it's helping your business grow as well. And then you're able to deduct it. So that's one thing to think about, especially like as you get, 2020 is already over, so nothing you could do with your 2020 taxes. But as you get to the end of 2021, if you think about some equipment that would like really help boost your business, you might want to purchase it towards the end of the year, because you'll be able to deduct it and it could help your taxes.
Yeah, and I want to add, piggybacking off of that, like a lot of financial planning, what we tell people too, like a good tip is to do, I call it a money date. So you could do a weekly money date or a monthly money date where you literally like date your money. So have like romantic vibes, like set the tone, because most people are like stressed and overwhelmed when they look at all the things they need to do with their money. But the whole point is to like build a good relationship as well, especially if you're trying to grow your business and grow your money. So as a business owner, I tend to do weekly just because I like to be on top of my like finances. QuickBooks is what I use to manage my business, and then like Mint app or, personal Excel spreadsheet for your personal. But doing those monthly check-ins, like let's say you do monthly, is such a great tip because you can start to see like trends or like take care of things more immediately. And then, like during your days, no, I'm going to handle it in my money date. So it's like all those things we know we need to do. You have like an allocated time in your calendar block to do it. Maybe you're calling your CPA, CFP professionals during those times as well. And then kind of what Lisa was saying, we always encourage all of our business owners in financial planning at the end of the year, like October is when you should do your tax planning before the year ends. Mm-hmm. So that, Katie, would be like a good time if there are any things you want to buy, like, or even funding your retirement accounts before the year ends, like just working with your professionals to claim as many deductions, buy as many things that you can write off, fund as many things like retirement related that you could fund before the year ends. But like doing the monthly money dates will help you kind of stay on track. And then come October, that's like when you're formally planning, and then there's no surprises come like April, March, whenever you're filing your tax return. So I think a lot of it could just be forward thinking too, with like the tips, like just like we do everything else, we work out daily, or 4 days a week, you do your money life, once a week or once a month.
I love
I love
that.
that.
Yeah,
I
Love
feel
that.
it's so important, I feel like, for the audience to know, if you want to go into solopreneurship, entrepreneurship, that you have to invest in yourself. Like, the best investment is yourself. And so if that means that you're going to have to spend more money up front to buy that camera, or to buy that new computer that's going to help you with graphic design, yes, it might be a bigger expense on the front end, but it's going to hopefully pay off and then some on the back end. And that was, for me, something that I was so nervous about. I felt like in the beginning, especially, I was spending so much money that I didn't necessarily think I had on photographers, on videographers, on graphic designers. But then once you get it out there, I realized, okay, well, now my business looks like a professional business. Now I have a website that actually doesn't look like I made it myself. And I felt like it just opened the doors for a lot more opportunity.
Investing in yourself is never an investment you'll regret. That is for sure.
Right. Oh, sorry, I was
completely.
going to bring up one
Please.
tip as far as investing in yourself. Even if you're self-employed or you own a business, if you want to increase your skills and take a class that will help you in your business, I always give a tip, like at the end of the year, you can pay for the first quarter of a college course, and you may be eligible for one of the education tax credits. So that's one thing to think about as well.
Oh, that's so helpful. I love that too. So I'm going to wrap up just with one quick rapid fire question. I appreciate you all for sharing all your knowledge today, and I know the audience is so appreciative as well. So we'll go around, and just real quickly, I would love to know, what is the best financial advice you have ever received? And Brittany, let's start with you.
Mine is timeless, and I say it all the time, but always keep your eye on the money. And not in a neurotic way, like you have to be like concerned about it all the time and worried about it, but in the way of like empowered, confident, responsible. It's your money, it's your decision. As many professionals as you hire to help you grow your wealth over time, it's still something to pay attention to. And like the best and wealthiest people, not just like monetary wealthy, but like spiritual, emotional wealthy, are just very on top of their money, and they always keep an eye on it.
Love that. That is such great advice. And Katie, what about you?
I kind of have two, so I'll share them quickly. The first one is that every time you receive any type of paycheck, to put half of it away so that you can't touch it, because
That's mine.
oh, sorry. I was gonna say, like, in the beginning, I was like, "Ooh, I have money, I can go spend it," and like that is that is the worst thing you could possibly do, I learned. And then the second thing is, if you want something, ask for it. The worst anyone is gonna say is no, because you know your self-worth, you know what you should be paid for a certain project or campaign, so you might as well ask for it, because the worst possible thing that could happen is they just say no, and it's not that bad.
Totally. And Grace, I don't want to put you too much on the spot, because I know you had the same one in mind as Katie, but I'd love for you to speak to your tip as well.
I have one, and it's not really pertinent to savings, but it's just always ask for more money. And if you're constantly quoting a rate and constantly being told yes, and no one's really hesitating, then it's time to probably charge up your rates.
Love that. Love that. And Lisa, how about you? Your number one financial tip.
Mine is start investing early, whether it's your retirement or diversifying your portfolio. And then also, especially if you get any type of windfalls, invest that money. Don't splurge.
So wise, so wise. Well, thank you all. Thank you to all of our panelists. Like, what an incredible conversation, really. Thank you so much for opening up, being honest, and sharing your experience and your advice. And thank you to everyone who joined us virtually and tuned into today's panel. we hope you're able to take away some information to help you not only navigate your taxes, but learn how to take financial action and invest in your business and yourself. And be sure to tune in for our next workshop, Side Hustle to Self-Employed, Tax and Finance Tips to help you transition and learn a bit more about going full-time self-employed and how it affects your finances and taxes. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.